Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Ty, the Ankylosing guy. Again, I just wanted to answer a question from Reddit that I got from somebody. He asked, how do I keep it straight all the time? And he was talking about having ankylosing spondylitis and just like, how do you maintain having a healthy lifestyle? How do you maintain feeling good? And I think the truth is that I don't, honestly. I think anyone who struggles with this condition probably doesn't all the time, just because it's so hard and it's so difficult to navigate, because you do have lots of ups and downs. I mean, physically, emotionally, mentally, like there's tons and tons of hurdles to get over. And I think the best way that I've learned to deal with it is trying to be as healthy as I possibly can. And that's not an easy thing to do. It's a very difficult thing to pull off. Really, the key is to have a couple of different routines depending on what you're going through. So like one of my routines is if I'm feeling good, then I push myself really hard to make sure that I'm feeling good and do all those things that I have to check off. Going to the gym is easily the number one thing that makes me feel better about myself, 100%. Whether I'm like feeling great or feeling pretty good or feeling like so, the gym is the place where it's like my sanctuary. It's like my mental happy place. And it's hard to get there. It's like super difficult to go all the time. And I've done it for years and years and years and years and years. And yeah, it's hard. You have to be disciplined, essentially. Like you have to remind yourself that that's the good place to go. And so that's one of the routines that I have. One of the other routine that I have is that if I'm feeling bad, I will lean into it really hard once I start to break. I will eventually start to buckle and I'll start realizing like, okay, a bunch of red flags, like I'm getting too tired all the time. My depression's starting to show up, all these different things that are not great in my life. I'll get snippy with my wife, I'll get kind of shitty with my dogs, I'll just be grumpy all the time for the sake of being grumpy. And that's when I realized like I gotta take a break for sure, because once I start getting to that like short fuse place, then everything kind of starts to buckle around me. If I get really depressed, I'll start spending money that I shouldn't be spending. I'll start eating shit all the time, and I'll fall farther than I want to. And the main thing that I think I try to do is I'll lean into it really hard. I'll take a break from work. I'll take a break from life. I'll take at least 2 days off just for myself, just to get myself reset, just to do a bunch of good things for myself and take care of myself. And then with that, I'll leave it in the past, forgetting how difficult it was, and stop paying attention to how hard, whatever you just experienced, like leave it alone. Don't give it a bunch of energy, because I think what you can do is you can get stuck in this loop of like, if it was that bad just now, then it's going to be that bad again moving forward. And I think it's really easy to set yourself up for psychological failure, because you're stressing all the time about like, oh fuck, I might be fucked, everything might be worse later on. And I've literally found nothing but dread and more pain and hypochondriac type feelings with that kind of mindset, because I'll be like, oh no, I'm so worried about everything. And what I've done to curb that entirely is by like legitimately just pushing that to the side, like really seriously. Like I had one of the worst flare-ups of my life this year, and it was torturous. It was like 2.5 weeks of legitimate horrible torture. All the muscles around my diaphragm were spasming all the time. I had to take all these shallow breaths. I was crying, I was buckling. It was bad. It was really bad. It'll try to trick you into holding on to all these different crazy mindsets, but don't. Like you have to have the wherewithal to understand, like with flare-ups, with pain, with all this stuff, it is temporary. And there's a bunch of things that I've at least managed to do to really reduce as much chronic pain on a day-to-day basis as I possibly can. And that is just by overall being as healthy as you can, physically, mentally, emotionally. Just do everything that you can learn about health. Try to put all of those into play. And it's a hard thing to juggle absolutely everything, but juggle whatever you can and prioritize all of the right things for yourself. Like for me personally, it's mental health. I have to prioritize mental health as much as I possibly can. If I don't, I drown. And it's a hard place to be in. I'm right, like even right now, I've been having a really rough few months, and the only way that I'm staying afloat is by just like holding on to the disciplines that I have to like maintain your health. Do as much as you possibly can to be healthy, and keep pushing yourself a little bit all the time, even though that you don't think that you can do it. You might feel like you just don't have it in you. Just try to push yourself as much as possible, because at the end of the day, that's all we can do, good or bad. And so if you're feeling good, push yourself to do even better. And if you're feeling bad, push yourself to get to good as much as possible. That's it. I know it's quite vague, and most of the stuff I'm going to be talking about is quite vague, but that's because I'm not going to specifically be like, you need to do this and you need to do that, because you're different than me. Like, I'll share as much as I can with you guys, but ultimately, like, it's really just focusing on having your own mindset that makes you feel better about approaching these disciplines. I think that's the key. I think you have to figure out a way to like play these almost psychological tricks on yourself to feel better and to feel motivated. You have to maintain some level of motivation. And I think having different scenarios and having different mindsets for it is super helpful, because what this condition causes you or makes you deal with is just a bunch of different situations, and it changes on you, and you have to be adaptable and you have to be flexible. And I think the main motivator for me is that I want to be as strong as I can be as a person. When I go to the gym, I try my best to be the hardest working person at the gym. If I don't feel like I'm working as hard as everyone else, I have to take into consideration that like they might not have a condition like me. But most of the time I go there and I bust my fucking ass. That's just the way it is. And have a lot of pride in that. Like, I hang my hat on being one of the hardest working people that I can be towards having this condition. And it helps. It helps a ton. It's like one of the most motivating things that I have is that like I know that I can work harder than the average person towards most things. So if like you just have to find these different routes to make yourself feel better about going and pushing yourself, because what this condition wants to do is it wants to slam you and keep you in your place. And I think life does that a lot regardless. Like, life is a very, very difficult, complex thing to go through. The human experience is nuts, and adding ankylosing spondylitis to it is just, it's bananas a lot of the time. So hang in there, give yourself some routines, give yourself some mental strategies. That's all I got for you today. All right, you guys are fucking awesome. Have a wonderful day. Peace.